Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you're joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, like, subscribe. Matter of fact, if you're joining me anywhere, like if you are listening to the podcast on Spotify, like and subscribe. Leave a message, leave a comment. If you're joining me on YouTube, like and subscribe. Leave a message, leave a comment. If you are joining me via Facebook, the Coach Gene Clemens Facebook page, like, make sure that you're subscribed. We want you to do all of those things, to be honest with you. So definitely do those things. The issue is, you know what? Let me rewind because I want to start this with congratulations. I want to congratulate Travis Hunter. If you do not know who Travis Hunter is the young man from Georgia who decided that he was going to take his talents to Jackson State. Full stop. The number one recruit in the nation decided that he was going to not go to a bad Florida State team. He was going to go to a really good Jackson State squad. Let's just stop right there. That's all we have to say. Congratulations. He did something. He made history. He's going down in the record books. Doesn't even matter what he does from here. That's great. We always tell our young men and women to make their mark. We always tell them to do something uncommon, to stand out from the rest. We tell them that all the time. And then they do it, and the business comes. The rest of it comes. All of the BS comes. Right? See, what we learn is anytime that entities that should not be able to do something does it, anytime those entities do it, we are big mad. Big mad. Anytime those entities are able to make something happen that you deem shouldn't happen, you big mad. Right? Travis Hunter was committed to Florida State. If Travis Hunter had flipped and gone to Georgia or Alabama or Florida or LSU or USC, people would have said, oh, snap, look, such and such was able to flip the number one commit in the country, and they would have moved on. Florida State has flipped top commitments before, and people just applauded the coach. Nobody said, oh, well, they just bought a player. And that's where you start to get me. See, there's a lot of tentacles that go into this. There's a lot of things that go into this that nobody wants to talk about because nobody wants to seem as if they're this or they're that. I personally don't care. See, I got into a back and forth yesterday, and I tried to keep it civil with a young man, a black man, who I believe works for CBS Sports, but I'm not really sure because his profile is deleted today. But this podcast producer for CBS Sports was like, I don't like this because Deion Sanders is employed by Barstool. Implying that because Barstool has had issues with black people in the past, that Deion Sanders, by Deion Sanders working for them, he is essentially sold out. That was his premise. Saying it without saying it. I didn't like it. And this is why I didn't like it. Because black men, on a day where a historically black college and university does something to upset the apple cart of all of the FBS and Power 5 and top of the food chain schools, when they're able to compete and rally against the best in the world, you should just applaud the move. Yesterday was not the day to come on and show your protest against Coach Prime. Yesterday was not the day to come on and show that you were upset at Coach Prime or that you had an issue with Barstool Sports. Yesterday was the day to applaud and celebrate what this young black man did and what that university was able to pull off. That's it. Instead, what yesterday became was Coach Prime buying players, Barstool Sports, and how they're going to be able to do, how they're going to be able to manipulate college sports, how money is ruining college sports, how these kids are blah, 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 blah. Let's break down the money structure, right? Because that seems to be really important. And I want to give this context. There were rumors, no actual legitimate reporting, just rumors that Barstool Sports has set up a deal with this young man, and that this young man also has other NIL deals that are going to net him over $1 million, and he's going to get his own reality show on Barstool. Right? So, number one, who cares? Nobody should care. The only reason people care is because this is now a young black man and he's going to a predominantly black school. Nobody cared last year. When Quinn Ewers when he just skipped his senior year in high school so that he could take advantage of millions of dollars or $1 million NIL deal that he had. He went over to Ohio State. Nobody said, "Oh my gosh, how can you give this white quarterback $1 million who has never played a snap in college?" But you know who they said it about? Yep, the Heisman Trophy winner, Bryce Young. When it was reported that Bryce Young had $1 million endorsement deal or millions of dollars in endorsement deals, when it was reported that Bryce Young had this without ever starting a game, people were like, why would you give him $1 million? Why is this? Blah, blah, blah. So what we're showing is that it's only an issue when it's people that you deem should not be worthy of that money. When it is schools that you deem are not worth that player. Who are you? Why do you get the opportunity to make that decision? Why would we, why would they, why would anybody ever listen to you over the people that do this for a living? But that's what we got yesterday. Man, this is so bad for sports. He's just going to be there for a year and transfer. Okay, so what if he does? Are you going to try to make it seem as if Coach Prime didn't do his job because this young man comes to Jackson State, collects his millions of dollars, plays good football, and then transfers to another school next year? Are you going to try to make it seem as if that's Coach Prime's fault? Because nobody's blaming Jason Day. Quinn Ewers is now playing for another team. Nobody's blaming Jason Day. Nobody's saying Jason Day failed, right? Tank Bigsby, who many believe is one of the best running backs in the country. He just transferred, or he entered the transfer portal. He's not gone yet. Nobody's blaming the coach. When these kids transfer, people are not blaming the coach, but they're going to blame him. They're going to blame Coach Prime if this kid gets his money, goes out and plays football, keeps himself in a good academic standing, and then next year transfers to another school to hopefully rinse, wash, and repeat. See, this is how the money goes. And again, I'm going to explain it to you because some other people probably won't. There's some other people who are going to lead you to believe, lead you to believe that somehow this is different. And the only thing different now is that the money is coming straight to the player. Newsflash, that's how it should have been the entire time. So it used to be people would throw money into the schools. And then the school would say, hey, we have such a great school. We have all of this stuff for you. Come to our school. But that wasn't enough. So then they started throwing the money into the coaches. And they say, hey, look at our school. Look at our facilities. Look at how good of a coach we have. Come to our school. Well, this is the final frontier. You've paid the schools. They have all of these facilities that they would not have if not for millions upon millions of dollars being dumped into the school via the football program. You have all of this. Now you have the coach. Hey, guess what? Now it's time to pay the players. Now it's time to say, hey, you want to come to our school and you're a really good offensive lineman? Guess what? You automatically got $60,000. That's what Texas is doing. Hey, you want to come to our school? You're a walk-on? That's okay. We're going to pay all of your tuition. We're going to pay all of your expenses. That's what BYU did. We did not hear a word about how it's destroying college football and how this changes the landscape. Nothing. You know why? Because it was money people doing money things. So now this seemingly low money, no money school with a budget that is 1/10 of the budget of Florida State is able to flip the best prospect in America, and it didn't take tens of millions of dollars to do. They're nervous. They're shook. They're worried because Jackson State plays in front of 60,000 people. And what's the difference between playing in front of 60,000 people and playing in front of, 30? What's the difference between playing in front of 60,000 people and 100? If you're in a packed stadium full of 60,000 people, it's going to feel just like a packed stadium full of 80,000 people or 90,000 people or 100,000 people. It's going to feel the same if you're in a packed stadium full of 60,000 people. Now, let's add to it that you're in a stadium full of 60,000 people who look like you. You know how it hits different. You know how it hits different. One thing that I noticed when I was watching the NCAA tournament last year, I noticed the run Baylor made. And Baylor, full of black players, when I looked up in the stands, when they panned to the stands full of white people. Now you might not see the significance of that. You may not understand what's different about that, but I do. I understand it. This isn't a diss on the people who are supporting Baylor, but this is a recognition that when those players looked up in the stands, they did not see a representation of themselves. I don't care what you say. It is hard to feel connected when you don't see any connections. The only connection for those players was the fact that they were wearing green and gold. That was the connection. They were wearing green and gold. But imagine if you are this young man and now you're going to play for however many years, for 1 year, for 2 years, for 3 years, you're going to play in a stadium packed to capacity, 60,000. And every time you look up in the stadium, you see people that look like your mother. You see people that look like your father, your cousins, your best friends, people you grew up with. That hits different. It feels different. It should feel different. It should feel different. This isn't like brain surgery, ladies and gentlemen. The equalizer is the money. The reason these players have not been coming to HBCUs is not because the HBCU offered a lesser experience. It's not because the HBCU offered a lesser experience. It's not because the HBCU doesn't have good coaching. It's because the FBS Power 5 school has been the easiest route to the league. It's been the easiest route to the money. In many cases, it's been the money. So now that the money has the ability to go anywhere, and it has the ability to go anywhere publicly, this isn't just over. Like these PWIs are not going to just take this lying down. They're going to hit back. And I think it's great. You know why? Because who's going to benefit? The players. That's who. The players are going to benefit from this. So now, Alabama, you're on the clock. Georgia, maybe your $3 million that you're spending in recruiting every year, maybe some of that $3 million in the budget has to start going to players. If you want them, especially if this young man goes to Jackson State, balls out, helps to elevate the Jackson State brand beyond what it is right now, which is extremely high, and continues to enjoy the experience and stays. Oh, you don't think that this young man's going to have an effect on Jackson State's recruiting for the February signing day? You are crazy. He's going to get somebody else big to come. It won't just be him. Y'all were big mad. Big mad. The sad part was there were black people out there that were a bit mad. Not many of you, but enough with blue checks next to their names that it made me uncomfortable. And I wanted to come out here and call you all the coons in the world. But I ain't going to do it. I wanted to. I was going to come out here and preach the crabs in the bucket, but I'm not going to do it. I wanted to. Because I know that you're in the minority. When I see other head coaches in HBCU come out and applaud this, when I see fans from other HBCU colleges and universities applaud this, I understand that you jokers are in the minority. Now, the other people, they're going to do what they do anyway. Anytime there is a breakthrough and black is attached to it, it's going to come with some scrutiny. Immediately, people are talking about they're going to be at Jackson State, man. They're going to be looking for something wrong with Jackson State. Let them look. Let them look. Let them look. And meanwhile, make sure they go look at Ohio State. Make sure they go look at Georgia. Make sure they go look at Florida. Make sure they go look at Alabama. Make sure they go take an extra peek down at LSU and Baton Rouge and in Tennessee and in Ohio and Oklahoma and Michigan and South Carolina, South California. Make sure they go look at all those places too. Because Jackson State is just doing what these programs have been doing forever. And you're mad because it's Coach Prime and you want to be right about him so bad, but he keeps proving you wrong. And somebody called me a cheerleader, and I said, if me pointing out the obvious is cheerleading, then okay, I'll rock the pom-poms. You all told us this is a publicity stunt by Coach Prime, that he would never coach a game. Then he coached in the spring. They had a rocky spring. You all said he was over his head, that it was all hype. There was no substance by it. He kept saying, hey, we don't even have our real team out here because they're not eligible to play in the spring. But wait until the fall. Then the fall came, and he went 11-1. Mollywopped the team in the SWAC championship. Defeated the only HBCU that was able to get to the NCAA tournament, the FCS tournament. And now they're playing in the Celebration Bowl, where I have already predicted they are going to mollywop South Carolina State. You're still talking about his hype. You want him to be this awful dude so bad. You want him to be this awful dude so bad that you keep missing the fact that his entire life, post-playing career, has been around trying to help the youth. This man is the most charismatic football player in the history of football. He's the most charismatic football player in the history of football. He's made all the monies. He does not have to do this. And yet, people are still questioning his motives out there. So if me just telling you the truth is me cheering for him, let me shake these pom-poms like T.O. used to do back in the day. Yeah. Because that's what it's going to be. But I'm going to sit back and enjoy this because I don't think it's over, and neither do you. The difference is I think that the ripple effect is going to be fantastic because now these Georgias and these Alabamas and these LSUs and these Florida States and these Floridas and Miamis are going to have to start putting together these packages for the top players who mostly look like me. So now when these kids say, hey, I need to make a decision for my family, this is the truth. They can get their family out of poverty the moment they sign on a dotted line to go to a college or university. They don't have to struggle through 3 years and hope they don't get hurt. They can change the lives of themselves and their families right now. How could we have any issue with that when these coaches are getting $8, $9, $10 million a year. When their recruiting budgets are larger than some of these other smaller colleges' entire athletics budget. How can we be mad at the player? Nothing but applause today. Applause to Jackson State for having the vision to bring this man to their school. Applause for him for doing what's necessary to bring light to that school and to make changes. And applause to the young men who are following them on the journey to do something different than what all of you sheep tell him that he's supposed to do. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. We do this thing a few times a week. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel or anywhere, make sure that you subscribe. We'll see you all tomorrow. Peace.